And now we are back. Hopefully, the connections are working and everything's going fine. And now I present to you Professor Deniss Hanovs.
So, yeah, well, thanks for solving all the technical issues. I know it is sometimes very disturbing, but I'm glad that the colleagues have, so to say, have solved all the technical problems and have coped with this. So once again, welcome to Latvia, welcome to Riga, and welcome to Rīgas Stradiņa University. My name is Deniss Hanovs. I'm professor for intercultural communication at the Department of Communication Studies. And well, most probably we will meet during your academic studies at the university, because one of the courses I'm teaching is intercultural communication. And within this course, we discuss different issues of European, global, and also Latvian culture, including also cultural competences and ways how to act in global society, combining local identities and global tendencies. But if we are not to meet during courses, at least at the moment, I'm very pleased to be able to address you. And first of all, I would really love to express my deep gratitude to my colleagues and the team for inviting me to talk to you. Well, during this short address, which will probably last about 20 minutes and will be followed up by your questions, hopefully, I would like to address the issue of being the other, feeling different in different environments. Because for many of you, your academic study in Latvia will last for years, and you will become a part of Latvian society you probably until now have only heard about in some reports on TV or in media, or most probably our small but beautiful country is very much unknown to you. Well, we have been EU member states since almost 6 years, and for centuries, Latvia, or territories now known as Latvia, have been at the crossroads of European history and different cultures. So we are a kind of spot where different cultures have met and interacted and created new hybrid versions. So in fact, if you are interested in history of Europe, you will see, meet, and experience different history periods, different personalities, countries, and ideologies. Most probably, you will also notice that we still have so-called Soviet heritage in architecture, in communication, and also in contemporary politics. But at the moment, I would like to address the issue which is also important for you. At least I presume it is important, because I think you will probably feel the same which I felt when I started to work on my academic experience and the research project in Berlin, in Germany. I have studied there so many times during last 20 years, and I've been visiting this city for years. So I presumed Berlin in Germany is very well known to me, so I would cope with it easily. And after I have received this opportunity to work on my book and articles, shortly visited, visiting Berlin, I understood that actually being a part of a society and being a guest for a short or longer time, these are two completely different things. I mean, in many cases, you feel you are familiar with a new culture, and in many cases, you feel being stranger. And this is what I felt last year when I, so to say, for a short time moved to Berlin. On the one hand, we are only 800 kilometers away. We are Europeans, but at the same time, we are very different. And being different is a hard job. And actually, in fact, I really appreciate your willingness to become a part of Latvian society, to start your study process, because it will be a hard job for you. It's not only professional way, but it is also a part of your new identity. So you will combine different cultures, your own culture, and you will experience something new. Most probably, first month will not be very comfortable. I'm very frank to you because this is the experience we actually all have when we visit another country or we move to a different country. But I would like to encourage you, Latvians are open-minded, we are global, we are very well connected to global social networks. We are following European and global processes, and in this case, of course, we are not provincial. At the same time, we as society for decades have experienced the period of so-called Iron Curtain, the Cold War period during the second half of the 20th century. It means that in many cases, we are still lacking some experience of being or becoming global. In some cases, and it again depends on tragic history of the Soviet period, we are reluctant to experience new cultures. And for decades, Latvian culture was under risk of being extinguished. Being part of Soviet control system, Latvian culture or Latvian people here were in many cases afraid to open up their thoughts, their emotions, and their minds. And it has actually, it shaped us for decades. It does not mean that we are reluctant to get to know another culture, but in many cases we still think it's complicated, it's difficult, it asks too much effort. And in some cases I experienced the same in Germany. So I became the other, different as a philosophical category in a country which I like, the language I like, and well, I thought it would be easier. It was not. So the question is how to deal with being different. And I think, first of all, I think you should just try to listen to the locals. Of course, the question is the language, but many of us do speak English. And we are, in fact, quite, motivated to learn other languages. Many people, also the elderly generation, speak German, and such languages as French and Spanish have become very popular. So it won't be difficult to start a conversation. In some cases, we as Latvians are difficult to define because, one of the new experiences for you in Latvia will be that there is a lot of, so to say, Russian language and Russian culture, especially the entertainment culture. It's again history of the 20th century. And so many people were migrants coming from other Soviet republics and staying here in Latvia. And it was, so to say, centralized system of, sending people after they have, so to say, finished their studies to another republic. So in fact, my family is a classical Soviet migrant family because I'm of partly of Russian, partly of Jewish origin. And so it's quite a mixture of culture. So in this case, this will be probably a new experience for you. And we do have our complicated issues with integration. But I think what is very important is to understand that you at the moment are in very, so to say, favorable situation. You are the other, you are between cultures, you are in the so-called third space. This is an anthropological category which defines people of hybrid cultures and identities. And I think, unfortunately, I don't see you at the moment. I still don't know you, but I hope I will. And then in many cases, you also come from different cultures, from mixed families, and from at least bilingual families. So in Latvia, the situation is very much the same. We have a lot of, so to say, mixed marriages, and people are in fact, they stay in different European cultures. I would like to mention one a British sociologist of Polish origin, who recently passed away, but he was very famous for defining culture in terms of sociology. He has compared culture to a garden. I don't know if you are, so to say, involved in gardening in your countries or in your city or town, but in his works, garden is a metaphor of cultural space, and garden is being, so to say, taken care of by a gardener. So someone who decides what is a part of cultivated plants and garden and what should be thrown away or excluded, marginalized, or so to say, to be placed outside the walls of garden. Of course, we all know that garden is also a biblical metaphor, a harmonious space, which is, of course, under control. But if you are thrown away out of the garden, you are probably also marginalized. And Zygmunt Bauman, this is the name of the sociologist, has said culture is always about selection. Culture is always about deciding who does belong and who does not belong. In this case, of course, it also depends on you how to belong. As I mentioned, Latvians are open-minded, but in some cases, it is the feeling of not being, so to say, on the safe side. I mean, for decades, to keep silent was the only way how you would survive. Otherwise, you would be sentenced. Otherwise, someone would denounce you. Otherwise, you could be put into jail. And if you come from former Soviet bloc, the so-called Warsaw Pact, you probably remember this if you talk to your parents or grandparents. If you come from, so to say, old EU countries like France or Germany probably is kind of an exclusion, you will probably feel that all this is very local, so-called local color, something very peculiar. But this does affect the communication skills of this society. At the same time, there has been a kind of internationalism in Soviet ideology, but it was, as everything else, under control of the party. And in this case, in former Soviet space, we do see, so to say, traces of racism, anti-Semitism, and other negative issues. But these are, again, global. You can find these xenophobic issues in every European country. We are not violent. Latvians are open to dialogue because they have experienced this control and violence coming from power. In many cases, Latvians are also very curious to get to know other people because we have been traveling a lot since 90s. Traveling has been for decades a symbol of freedom in Latvian society. So we are at home in Britain, in Germany, in Spain, in Portugal, in Australia, in New Zealand, in the States. So there are many Latvian communities all across the world. It means we are curious to welcome guests, and we're curious to get to know people. Cooking might help, because when you are hungry, you can share. And if you can share, it means that you are in fact also welcoming other cultures, at least at the level of practical issues. Gastronomy and food might help. Latvians also enjoy talking, and history and past are issues which can help you to build bridges. And in fact, it's not only talking which creates this intercultural dialogue, it's also a lot of listening. I know I'm not talking too much, and I will soon leave the time and space for your questions on your reactions, but listening to tragic history of Latvians is also one of the ways how you can bridge the gaps between communities. And I know in many linguistic cultures, silence is a challenge. In English, there are a lot of gap fillers, those words which can help you not being silent. In Latvia, silence sometimes means that you are also ready to think about what you have just experienced, and be attentive, be open-minded, and Latvians will tell you their story, and their stories are fascinating because, as I said, history and different personalities and events met here to create a unique constellation. I will finish at this moment because I have already received one of the questions sent to me by Agnia. How is the view on LGBTQ? Well, it is a sensitive issue. First of all, there are no violent cases. And in fact, LGBTQ, of course, what concerns law and so say European legal framework, we protect rights of sexual minorities. In everyday life, well, Latvia still has to do a lot to accept different sexual identities. I am myself a gay person, but I have never experienced any discrimination either at work in my university or among my students or in services and so on. But in everyday life, people are still not accustomed to see LGBTQ people expressing their emotions and feelings on the streets. So I would probably not do it somewhere late at night in some of the remote districts of Riga, but there is an NGO called Mozaika. You can find it easily on website. It provides help and assistance. Of course, police is also very well trained to help people, but well, our politicians are still quite conservative. So you can feel safe. There are places where you can be very free, not many of them, but just be proud of your identity. How about racism? Well, this is a sad story indeed. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I have taken an interview within my radio program, and a person, my guest, is Black American. He has spent 20 years here in Latvia. He speaks Latvian. He is an actor and a wonderful teacher. But I saw on the street walking together with him that people still look at him and this is here a very sensitive issue. There was no aggression, no verbal, no gestures, nothing. But people are still very curious. And in many cases, I would say it's just because we don't have enough people of other color and ethnicity. So Latvia is becoming diverse very quickly, but still many people just haven't got this experience. Yes, so any other questions? No other questions. So just once again, to make this story short, find your time to listen, and Latvians will tell their stories. They will open up their minds, and our students are very helpful also what concerns everyday life. And of course, what helps is a smile, and I'm sure you can smile. This helps a lot to bridge some gaps. And try to create initiatives. Try to tell your own stories because, well, as I said, people are curious to experience other cultures. So I hope I'm not running out of time. How are attitudes towards Black people, people of color, Muslims? Well, just as I said, not enough experience, but there are no signs of aggression on the street. There are no assaults. And actually, what concerns hijab, you know, everything I would tell you would be the experience of a white male person who is okay. Well, I am gay, so I am partly a minority myself, but I'm not a religious minority. Unfortunately, we don't have a mosque here, but there are NGOs who provide you possibilities to experience your religion and your faith. I would say there is no, you should not be afraid to experience your own religious identity. So we are quiet, we are tolerant, but we still miss the everyday experience of diversity. Any other questions? And as I said, we also have ombudsman, we have well-trained police, we have also the Center of Human Rights, which is situated in Alberta 13, and you can also ask them for help. I'm able to speak Russian. Are Latvians offended if I do? Well, no. Well, actually, many Latvians still speak Russian. Well, young people probably have some difficulties because most of them come from cities where there are almost no Russians. Riga is a different story. Riga is another country, I would say. So no, you can address people also in Russian, especially elderly generation. Because, you know, language is one thing, history is the other, and Latvians have suffered a lot from Soviets, as well as Russians have also suffered from Soviets, just like my family. No, don't be afraid. You can use your Russian. It's again another tool to build bridges. Racism can be cured if there are right organizations and acts. What do you have about this in Arizona? Well, first of all, of course, Students' Council is very proactive. They are very supportive. And as I said, there is Latvian Center for Human Rights, and it's very easy to find them. Then in case you are assaulted, you can report it to police, and they also speak English, and you can also report it to the Latvian Center for Human Rights, and they will act, they will help. How safe is it to go out alone at night as a girl? It is, well, as a boy, I know it's safe because none of my friends, my female friends, have ever been assaulted or attacked. It of course depends on districts. There are dangerous districts in every city, but major streets and actually what we call sleeping districts or Schlafviertel in German, it's actually very safe. Yeah, so it is safe indeed. Yeah. Any other questions? Well, Riga is indeed very safe city. Yes, it is. And please do, in any case, seek the help and advice of the Erasmus colleagues and also Students' Council. Are there any other questions? And as I said, if you need my help and assistance, Agnia knows how to find me, and the faculty is also very close. Do people in Latvia have an easy time communicating in English, for example, in shops? Well, more and more, because there are many young people who work in shops and coffee houses, and in fact, also the, let's say, the middle-aged generation, they do speak English. As you will find us quite global and competent also in English, as indeed. Just try. Does the majority of the Latvian Riga population understand? Yes, yes, we do understand and talk English. It's actually much easier even than in Germany. And yeah, English is taught here in schools, French also, German, but English, yeah, of course. So you will find it's quite easy to communicate in English. Probably in some small shops in sleeping districts, it would be a challenge, but then I think you will manage it. Are you under surveillance or do you have the privacy? Well, what do you mean by this? Well, we have different cameras which are in use in the city, but it is indeed for safety. We don't have it as in Russia any applications in phones. So you now with COVID, you don't really have to be, so to say, observed all the time, but you just choose yourself if you want to install it and want to know if you have contacted someone who has been infected, but it's only your own decision. No, you do have privacy. But privacy is a huge term, so I don't really know what you mean exactly by this, but we are democratic. I would wish we would be more democratic what concerns acceptance of different minorities. And also feminism is sometimes viewed by conservatives as something awkward, but then there are everywhere conservatives in all countries, and they are all sometimes very nervous about women's rights. But well, yeah, it's a global issue. Do you have any other questions? Agnia, if you are there, am I running out of time? Is it safe to use a Jewish star or? Yes, of course. And actually, in fact, we do have a wonderful synagogue in the old town. It's in Peitavas Street. And in fact, if there wouldn't be COVID, I would also invite you there, because we have wonderful head of the Jewish community who is a wonderful storyteller. Yes, you can use it. And if you are following the religious rules of Hebraic tradition, so Shabbat is of course available here also, and you can visit synagogue. It's a wonderful Art Nouveau or modernism building built in 1905. It's so say Egyptian motifs. You would enjoy it indeed. Yes, it is safe. Well, anti-Semitism is everywhere here, mostly in social networks. But it's not on the street. You can use, of course, kippah, and yes, of course, you can practice your Jewish culture publicly, of course. Any other issues concerning phobias or security issues? And of course, please do enjoy Latvian cuisine. It is very delicious. So, Agnia, I hope you can hear me or see me. Can you give me a sign if I should sum up? Any other issues? Okay, so I'm told paldies, which means thanks. So, and I return this to the colleagues who have organized this wonderful possibility to communicate. So once again, welcome. And yeah, I hope you will enjoy your stay. It was a pleasure for me to meet you in this way. Yeah, so thanks.